Well, good morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee Sunday live streaming service. I'm Reverend Pam Brandman, the Senior Minister here at the Center. Our Center's purpose is love. Our vision is embracing all while awakening to the One. We know that wherever you are and whoever you are welcome here. There are many paths to God, but we know that they all end in love and oneness. So we are grateful that each of you is here with us today. We begin our service with our receptivity statement that you'll see on our screen. And if you would repeat with me, staying muted so we sound one. I am here by divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. So this morning, we have one of our own who is returning, Joaquin Fioresi, and he and his family have recently moved from Tahoe to Pioneer, which is in Amador County, about an hour and 15 minutes south of South Lake Tahoe, and he's in the middle of wine country. So Joaquin is playing for us a mixture of some original songs and one of his favorites. So he's going to begin with a mantra to prepare us for meditation. Joaquin?
Thank you, Reverend Pam. This is an Om chant. It's super simple, so if you feel like joining me, feel free. It's a real simple song. So it's like a nice meditation song.
Thank you, Joaquin. And our practitioner this morning is Nancy O'Neill. When Nancy is not spending time as our center's lead practitioner, you will find her bicycling with her husband, Tom, or if it's snowy outside, they'll be doing some Nordic skiing. Or you might find her hiking Tahoe's scenic trails with our center's women's group that goes out on Wednesday mornings. Welcome, Nancy.
Nancy, please unmute yourself.
So thank you. And if you'll just join me for an opening prayer by taking a few more deep breaths It's so good to breathe, and just knowing how that breath connects us to each other, to the world around us, to the one who's breathing us, and really helps us to get centered as we close our eyes. And I begin today in gratitude. As they say, Jesus always began his prayers with gratitude. Because I am so thankful for this time for us to have together to really move into spirit, to knowing that what we know of spirit is love. And the love that we have for each other, the love that we have for this teaching, the love that we have for our Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee. And in knowing that, I just know the perfection of today, the talk, the music. We're so happy to have Joaquin with us again. And just that time to connect with one another in knowing that it's all good. It's all God, that we just have our faith in, knowing that goodness shows up around us, and to be grateful for that, and to recognize it and be aware, and have the faith that we know that none of us have that big picture. So we just have the faith in knowing that good is always making itself known. And so in knowing that, I just release my word to the law that always manifests. And so in knowing that, we say together, and so it is. So this morning's reading is from Mary Morrissey's The Miracle Minute, and it's called Up Until Now. So a number of years ago, someone gave me a phrase to practice when I wanted to overcome a self-defeating pattern. We all have patterns of thinking that are less than who we really are. We learn them as kids, or we learn them because something happened and we began to believe something about ourselves that produced a limiting experience. So whenever we have a limiting thought where you think, I can't do that, or I don't have enough of this, or it's too late, or I should have done it sooner, just say to yourself, up until now, that has been true about me. Those words, up until now, are a powerful message to the subconscious mind. They are a new order coming in. They are saying that the order that was established in the past is no longer in power by the authority that is given each one of us in our freedom of choice and our free will. We get to choose a new pattern when we say so. When the old pattern emerges, trying to give life to itself one more time, we say to it, up until now, it might have been true, but not now. Now this is true. We begin to establish a new pattern of thinking. That new pattern begins to take on a life of itself. That pattern becomes our life. So today, we say up until now to everything that is limiting, and we lay claim to the power of God that is in us to describe and decide the life we would have. So now Joaquin's going to play another song for us.
Thank you, Nancy. That was beautiful. This next song is a Tom Petty song from his album called Wildflowers, and it's called It's Time to Move On, and just feels right about right now. It's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. broken skylines, moving through the airport. She's an honest deflector, conscientious objector, now her own protector. Yeah, broken skylines. Which way does the love land? Which way to something better? Which way to forgiveness? Which way do I go? Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. It's time to get going. Sometime later, getting the words wrong, losing the meaning, losing the rhyme. This noxious adrenaline is like breaking up a dog fight, like a deer in the headlights, frozen in real time. I'm losing my mind. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. It's time to get going.
Thank you, Joaquin. I always love how the music and the readings just magically fit into the theme of the talk for the day, because we know there's only one mind. And as Joaquin was just singing, this month we are moving from good to great. And it's a long journey, that always is going on. But it's about time to be moving on, as Joaquin was singing. And when we find ourselves that there are some things in our lives that have been this way up until now, and we want them to be different, it's time. It's time to move from good to great. It's time to be moving on. And we may not even expect it. We may not even know that we're in a place that things could be even better. But Spirit is always conspiring for our good. So we shift in our organization to, when we want to make that change, we have to first build a solid foundation. And that will consist of disciplined people, disciplined thoughts, disciplined actions, and disciplined building. Right? And so this week we're focusing on disciplined people equals greatness. Much of the information in my talk today is based on information in a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Now, Jim Collins is formerly a professor at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business. He's currently a management researcher based in Boulder, Colorado. And our center, the members of the board of trustees and our practitioners are working together on a supplemental book focused on social sector organizations, which is how this all applies to churches and other nonprofits. And could we change the who's centered as the primary speaker, Rick? Okay, great. Thank you. And so what is greatness? Now Jim Collins and his team of researchers, they started with 1,435 Fortune 500s that had companies that had been there somewhere in that range between 1965 and 1995, and they wanted to look at what happened over time with these different organizations. Did they slowly build up? Did they fall? Did they, how did different companies that were in the same field compare to each other? And what they found was that for some of the companies, that they made a leap from good to great. And they went from the middle of the pack and just kind of performing the same as all of their other competitors, but they made this leap, a breakthrough from good to great. So the study asked the question, why did some companies make this leap and why not others? What were the differences? Colin compared companies that were in the same business, just like Kleenex and Scott Paper. And they asked what was unique about Kleenex that allowed them to not only leap from good to great, but eventually buy out Scott Paper. Right? And there was quite a few different examples. They had 11 of these companies. And so they found that greatness is not a function of circumstance. If they're in the same business sector, that all the factors were pretty much the same, but some still made that change. Greatness, it turns out, said Collins, is largely a matter of conscious choice and discipline. Discipline, that's where that word comes from. And a great organization is one that delivers superior performance and makes a distinctive impact over a long period of time. Okay. Now, in social sectors, we don't have an issue of making profit. It's not about tracking the money in and the money out. It's not how much money do we make per dollar of invested capital. But the question is, how effectively do we deliver on our mission and make a distinctive impact relative to our resources? Right? It's how well we transform our lives spiritually, how well we fulfill our purpose of love and our vision of embracing all while awakening the one. Right? So greatness is measured by superior performance, distinctive impact, and lasting endurance. And so we want to have, for this measure of greatness, we want to come up with ways that we track our progress and aim for ever higher levels of performance and impact. You can click through that one, Michael. And when you're looking at a symphony orchestra, for instance, you can't really, how do you measure it? Do you measure by how many people come to the symphony? Or do you measure it by the impact that they have on the community? Do the cab drivers all tell the visitors, oh, you have to go listen to our symphony, it's so fabulous? Or the day after 9/11, did they cancel their concert? It was a Mahler concert. No. They sold out the audience because that was a way to deal with that pain and anguish that was going on, to listen to Mahler. That was how that orchestra was managing or measuring their impact. And so any journey from good to great requires relentlessly adhering to your output and then driving yourself to even higher levels of performance and impact. And also, no matter how much you have achieved, you will always be good relative to what you can become. Next slide. Greatness is an inherently dynamic process. It's not just an endpoint. It's not something that you say, okay, this is how far we're going to go. We'll reach the end. We will be great. And voila, that will be great forever. No. It's something that you have to continue doing continuously. You can always be greater than you are now because Spirit is infinite that wants to express through us, The moment you think of yourself as great, your slide towards mediocrity will have begun. And you will flatten that curve and become just one of the pack rather than standing out as great. Now, disciplined people mean greatness. In Science of Mind, we talk about how we know that it is done unto us as we believe. And if we want to do the things that a great center does, we must first be great in consciousness, right? What we believe. And then we will be a magnet for people, thoughts and actions that will create greatness. Our center will attract leaders and participants in our congregation who are self-motivated and self-disciplined. One of the stories in the book is about a woman named Wendy Kopp. In 1988, Wendy graduated from Princeton with an elegant idea, and she describes it in her book, One Day, All Children. She wanted to convince graduates from leading universities to spend their first 2 years out of school teaching in underprivileged communities. And it was called Teach for America. Now, when she started, everyone always wants to start with a silver spoon in their mouth or something like this. No. When she started, she moved to New York. She had no money, no office, no infrastructure, no name, no credibility, no furniture, no working track record, not even a bed or a dresser to store her clothes. And so in her little room in New York, when she moved in, it was simply taking her clothes out of a black plastic bag and folding them neatly in a pile on the floor. But then she started with her idea and her vision. Right? Soon she got her first grant of $26,000 in seed capital from Mobile Corporation. And she spent the next year, 365 days, recruiting new graduates and donors to join and fund her program the next year. And so the next summer, she had 500 recent graduates from top colleges assembled for training and deployment to America's underserved classrooms. The first summer. Right? For 2005, which was not even 20 years later, they had 97,000 individuals apply for the 14,000 positions that they were funded for that year. It became very competitive. And it's still ongoing, and it's gone to nations all over the world now. Wendy Kopp attracted people who craved meaning in their lives. And so supporting the Teaching for America mission was even more important to those successful recruits than taking a higher paying job. They wanted to make a difference in the world. Right? In a typical social sector organization like the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee, that wants to achieve greatness, it's about the purity of mission. Whether it's about educating young people, connecting people to God, making our cities safe, touching souls with great art, feeding the hungry, serving the poor, or protecting our freedom or the environment. It has the power to ignite passion and commitment, says Jim Collins. Here at CSL Tahoe-Truckee, our members join our spiritual center because it is a place where they can learn about and practice the Science of Mind principles that they will transform their own lives. And they're willing to serve in our organization as volunteers or at salaries below what they can make in other positions because they believe in our mission. It's a calling to serve here. They want to share what they've discovered with the world. Right? And so first, you have to begin by being great. Don't wait for the world to recognize your greatness. Live it and let the world catch up to you. When you see it, allow ourselves to be it. And that's how the transformation works, step by step by step. Going from good to great isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that happens gradually, and each step builds upon the next. Now, I'd like to tell you a story about the cowboy. And this is a story that's told by Larry Winget, who is a telecommunications company owner. And his company sold telephone systems to businesses, and when he was brand new, he was recruiting salespeople, preferably people who had knowledge and experience with telecommunications and marketing, right? Sounds pretty normal. Well, one of the first people that came in for an interview was a man about 22. He was a college graduate, but his degree was in agriculture. And for the last several years, he had had a summer job working on a ranch in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, as a ranch hand. Right? And so Cowboy walked in wearing cowboy boots. He had a corduroy jacket that didn't quite fit, and it definitely didn't match his corduroy pants. He had on a short sleeve, snap button shirt, good Western shirt, and his tie only went halfway down his chest, a lot of room between the bottom of that tie and his belt, and had a big knot that was really as big as my hand. And so Cowboy topped it all off for his interview with a baseball cap. Now, Larry, his first impression of Cowboy was this was definitely not the ideal salesperson that he had in mind. So he was trying to figure out how could he let this guy down easily so he would just leave and not waste his time. But when Cowboy sat down at Wingett's desk, he said, "Mister, I just sure appreciate a chance to be success in the telephone business. That's how he said it." And so this definitely convinced Larry Wingate that this was not the right guy. But as they continued to talk, the earnest young man convinced his future boss that he was ready to be a success in business, and he would just sure appreciate a chance. So Wingate hired Cowboy on a straight commission basis, and he gave him 2 days of intensive training and set him off. So at the end of his training, Cowboy wrote down 4 goals and he pasted them on his cubicle wall. I will be a success in business. I will see 100 people per month. I will sell 4 telephone systems per month, because each phone system had a commission of $250, and that means he would make $1,000 a month. So these goals were based on industry standards for telecommunications salespeople with experience. So even though it was going to be a straight commission, the $1,000, it sounded a whole lot better than the $400 a month he'd been earning as a ranch hand. So at the end of the first month, Cowboy didn't sell 4 telephone systems. No, at the end of the first 10 days, he had sold 7 telephone systems. Right? At the end of his first year, he hadn't earned the expected $12,000 in commissions. Instead, he had earned over $60,000. After 3 years, Cowboy owned half of the company. And another year later, he owned 3 more companies. He had become a success in business. Right? So why was Cowboy successful? He was successful because he knew the 9 disciplines for success. First, he was focused and disciplined on success. He knew what he wanted. I think you can click this through, Michael. He knew what he wanted, and he went after it. In Science of Mind, we call that vision. Right? Second, Cowboy took responsibility. So click again. Just click again, Michael. There you go. He took responsibility for where he was and what he was, a ranch hand. And he took action to make things different. Right? He was ready to move on, as Joaquin was singing about this morning. And so in Science of Mind, we say what we really do is to look within our own consciousness and hear the invitation to greatness and then act upon it. As from Nancy's reading, up until now, things were a certain way, but we're ready to look within and listen to that higher possibility that Spirit wants to manifest. And so the greatness, and so we act upon that vision. Third, Cowboy made a decision. He left the ranch in Bartlesville, Oklahoma to look for opportunities to become a success. He let go of where he was at, and he was willing to move forward. Fourth, there was no way that Cowboy could keep doing the things he had been doing and receive different results, so he changed. He was willing to surrender and do things differently. Next slide. It's that surrendering to spirit, to that higher level, to let go and let God, as we say. There's something, we can get very comfortable where we're at. But if there's something greater, we need to look up. We need to listen within to that spirit. What wants to come through? And so this leads to principle or discipline 5. He had vision and goals. He saw himself as success. He saw those goals every day on his cubicle, and he saw them accomplished. Right? Nothing in between him and accomplishing them other than the steps he needed to take. Now, Ernest Holmes tells us that how much can we believe? As much as we can believe will be done unto us. And so if we have a small cup, we'll get a small cup worth of greatness. But if we have a big cup, or a big bowl, or a big vessel of some sort, that's how much, as much as we can accept, as much as we can believe, is what Spirit will give to us. Now, discipline number 6. Cowboy put action to his goals and stayed with it even when it was tough. He never let it stop him. Even when it was tough, he kept going. Every prospect who told him no, and there were a lot of them, was just another step towards his next sale. And this goes along with discipline 7. He asked. He asked almost everyone he came across if they wanted to buy a phone system. After all, greatness is for us all, not just one special person or place, and each one of his customers deserved a great telephone system. Another thing that distinguished Cowboy was that disciplines 8, he cared. He cared about people for real. He discovered that when he cared more about taking care of his customers than himself, he was also taken care of. He surrounded himself with other great people who could also see the greatness in him. And so they lifted each other up. He was with people that were also on their way to greatness. It makes a difference. And finally, the 9th discipline. Cowboy started each day as a winner. He hit that front door of the office expecting good things to happen. And so they did. Ernest Holmes says, for sake of clearness, think of yourself as in this mind. Think of yourself as the center of it. You think, and mind produces the thing. Right? It's the law that automatically produces it. All we have to do is commit to what we think, and mind then creates. Right? It's not I, but the Father within that doeth the work. Mahatma Gandhi puts it this way: as human beings, our greatness lies not so much in being able to remake the world, that is the myth of the atomic age, as in being able to remake ourselves. When we change who we are being, then that changes what manifests in the world outside of us. It's the magnet for everything that matches who we are. So this is why it's so important. This is one reason that I like to start every day with inspirational reading and meditation. That I start my day as a winner, knowing that I am one with Spirit and that we are about great things, that I am following Spirit's lead. I've also experienced why this was important for my youngest son, Elliot. You know, he's smart, but he has a learning disability. And so he was in a special ed class when he was in the 5th grade. And his teacher that year had a green, yellow, and red card system. And so each time a student did something wrong, their card got first turned from green to yellow, and then from yellow to red. Now, if their card was red at the end of the day, did she give them a fresh start in the morning? No. The next day, they had to earn their way back to green. Elliot could not deal with this psychological hurdle at all. So if his card was red, he often refused to go to school at all that day, the next day, right? They obviously caused a lot of consternation in our home. But the next year in middle school, he was very fortunate to have this fabulous teacher. There were 12 boys in the special ed classroom. And so Teacher Carol had a different approach. If the boys came in starting out the day, then they were distracted by something that was going on in the world or their personal life. They didn't get a red card. No. They did something novel. They did what adults might actually do. They all talked about it. And I can imagine the kind of conversations they might have had during this year's election cycle. My son is very much into politics, and he can talk your ear off about his political opinions, majoring political science now. And so these boys learned to talk about their emotions and deal with them, that their emotions and ideas were important, that somebody cared about them. They were appreciated for being who they were. They had worth. They had value. And so they learned to deal with life when it seemed chaotic. And they came to school anyway. Those 12 boys. It was amazing, the transformation in that classroom. So remember that the future is in your hands. You were born to manifest your greatness and the greatness of others in our spiritual center. It begins by listening to that voice of spirit within you, guiding you to know who you are. Be who you really are, one with spirit. Live life from the inside out. Live with clear vision and have the willingness and courage to grow, to let go of where you are and move on to that next place. And share all that you can give, because you are supplied by an infinite source with love and wisdom and time and talents, treasure, all of these things we share to make the world a greater place. Have the discipline to live a life of greatness and to support everyone around you to also recognize and achieve their own greatness. We are all in this together as the one life that we call God. So let's take this to prayer. So as we turn within, getting comfortable in our chair, being still, today we see the magnificence of God all around us. The trees with their brilliant yellow and orange leaves that are now gently falling to the ground. The bears and squirrels, they're busily finding food to carry them through the winter. Just one more seed, one more berry before the snow flies. The boats are now safely stored on the shore. And we are all preparing for that annual cycle of winter, the time to go within, to reflect, and prepare ourselves for renewal in the spring. It's a time when we remember that God is all there is, and that we are all whole. We are all part of that oneness There is only that one life, and we are each all a part of that same one life. No separation from God or from each other. And so I know in this time, as we approach to the winter, that whatever needs to happen to prepare for that time of going within, to restore the natural balance of gentle and plentiful precipitation and healthy air and water quality throughout the world, is now underway with the support of all the Earth's people working together as one. I know that the truth of our existence is that the inherent spiritual nature of infinite harmony prevails. Everything else is dissolved, washed away, released. I know that as we move through this election, that there is divine guidance in each and every person, because we are all from the one, coming from that same one in life. And so that divine guidance reveals a fresh vision of compassion and unity, of the possibilities of greatness that we build together for every person on our planet, for every creature, for the planet itself. And I know as that life, that one life, flows forth, that the leadership transitions occur with integrity and with peace, as divine right action and compassion and love guide each and every decision and action by each and every person. Rather than mass psychology, there is this divinely inspired call to greatness, to oneness, to truly live as who we are. The power and presence of the divine protects all of its creation through the coming weeks. Peace, understanding, and reconciliation pave the way for all citizens to be united in vision, mutual trust, and loving action to heal all discord and restore the natural ecological, economic, and political balance of our world. The power and presence of the divine also protects and heals our bodies, minds, and spirits for each person that is hearing my voice and all of their loved ones and friends. Natural wholeness is now revealed. It is the truth of who we are. Every cell, every organ is now surging with vitality and perfect health, knowing exactly what to do and doing it perfectly. Every breath and every heartbeat are strong and steady. Every movement is easy and pain-free, each joint moving with perfect connection and strength. Every worry is now released, dissolved, replaced by an unshakable trust in the power of divine love and healing of all relationships and situations, of seeing spirit within each and every person, every relationship. Divine harmony, wholeness, and abundance are now revealed everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I also speak my word for the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee. The process of moving, evolving from good to great is supported perfectly by the power and presence of the divine. We attract the perfect people and all the required resources to serve each other in our community. Each one here is empowered to be all that we were created to be, to support each other. Our lives, individually and collectively, are spiritually transformed as divine love and wisdom are revealed. Joy and compassion fill our lives and our community. And so with enthusiasm, we embrace our future vision, embrace all while awakening to the one. Life is so good. It is so fantastic With deep gratitude, I release these words, this vision to the law of God, knowing that it is now, right now, manifesting in accordance with the highest and best for all involved. It is good. It is the divine. It is the one life expressing itself. So I say thank you, Father, Mother, God. And together we say, and so it is. So we have Joaquin's final song. It's an original called The Weight, meaning the weight of the divine. Right? And so just like relying on gravity, we can always rely with complete faith on the weight of the divine to support us wherever we are and whatever we do, even if we're walking in our dad's frame.
Shiloh's slowly crawling out of the room.
It's all perfect.
All right, here goes a song called The Weight. It's a blue speck of water and dust, suspended in a beam of trust. Gravity's got all on us, yeah. You can tell me who's right or wrong, I don't care, that's not my song. Gravity's got it all on us, yeah. You'll feel the weight in the weight. Patience always pays. You'll feel the weight in the weight. Holding out for better days. You'll feel the weight in the weight. Keeping your feet on the ground. You feel the weight in the weight. All the stardust flying around. Well, she lost her fears, she cried her tears, identified for countless years. Were they even really hers? How does it feel to be on your own, under the stars and not alone? Gravity's got it all on us, yeah. You feel the weight in the weight. Patience always pays. You'll feel the weight in the weight. Holding on for better days. You'll feel the weight in the weight. Keeping your feet on the ground. You'll feel the weight in the weight. All the stardust flying around. You'll feel the weight.
Thank you,
Thank
Joaquin.
you guys so much. I love being here. This is just made my day. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I think we can switch back to me as the primary person, Rick. And so we're ready to have our prosperity affirmation, Rick. You're there? There we go. All right. So if you would, as we move into our prosperity time, whatever your gift is, our time, talent, and treasure that we share with our center, we know that it all comes from God. And so if you would hold your hands over your heart, thinking of your donation, repeat our prosperity affirmation together with me. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me blessed and multiplied. And so there are many ways that you can give to our center. And so we are grateful for your support because it allows us to continue serving you during this time when we're a virtual community. And also, as you know, as we see in the future, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It is coming, and we will be back in our center. But we will always have people that are in our virtual community now. We have changed. We have gone forward. And so we're going to be going forward in from good to great in this next month. And so we have our offertory song that we can sing together.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need.
So let me say that again so you can hear it. So as we bring our gifts, our offerings to the center, we are so grateful for the abundance that they represent, for the Spirit that always supports us and supplies us with all that we need and more. And we share from that overflow with gratitude, with joy, with love and compassion, and allow it to enhance the world in this center. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for these many blessings in our lives, now and always. And so it is. Amen. And so we have, if we have some guests today, first-time visitors, we want to welcome you and thank you for sharing your time with us. You may also want to post your address or email in the chat so we can add you to our email list and you can get our wonderful constant contact newsletter that we have going out every week. And we also have some other exciting events that are going on. So here with our announcements is our Associate Minister, Reverend Rick Carney.
Thanks, Reverend Pam. We have a whole range of things happening in this center. It's actually one of the busiest centers in the country. And I want to make sure that you are aware that you can invite your family and friends to watch our Sunday talks via Zoom and also see recordings of past talks on our homepage, that is on the internet, our website, and Facebook, and on Instagram. Moving along, I have some special news, and that is thanks to the generosity of Sue Ruda, producer of the film, The Science of Earnest Mind, and the three presenters that we had last week. We now have our recording of that whole Saturday event available for you to access and view, and it is available by our event website that you see at the bottom of the screen. The same address is also in our constant contact. We do ask for a love donation in connection with this, but now if you missed it, you can go back and see what everyone's talking about. This video will be available through the end of the year. Next Sunday, Reverend Pam returns to speak the next step of the Good to Great cycle about disciplined thought. Rod Loomis returns to provide us with his musical gifts, and Brenda Hildorn will be our practitioner. Well, unless you just woke up from a long winter's nap, you may not know that Tuesday coming is Election Day, and our practitioners are offering 2 meditations that day. The normally scheduled Tuesday morning meditation from 8:30 a.m. To 9 a.m., and then a special meditation at the time that polls close here in California, that is 8 p.m. So we invite you to join us for time of peace, healing, and reconciliation. Wednesday, I lead a gathering of those who would love to come together for some informal discussion. We'll be talking about where do we go from here with the election day now over, what path we choose to chart for ourselves. And that would hopefully help us lead into developing our community vision. You might recognize this photo taken from our open house, one of the last times when we were all together in one room in community. But our community visioning will be done virtually this time around, and it'll be on Sunday, November 22nd, following service. Encourage you all to be there and to invite others as well. As I mentioned, there's something going on here almost every day of the week. The meditations, the teachings. Thank you, Sue Pipel, for putting on the Course of Love book study. That will be meeting this Friday, and as well as Letting Go, which will happen not this Friday, but on November 20th. I understand that Course in Miracles is on a temporary break. I'm looking forward to having that return to us sometime soon. So with that, I turn the mic over to Reverend Pam. And you're muted, Reverend Pam.
So our center is a healing center, and our practitioners are part of the heart of our center. And the maybe if we could go to gallery view, Rick, so we can see all of our wonderful practitioners. I guess everybody else can click on, you can click on your own gallery view. Yes, all right. So that way you can see all of our practitioners that are online. So if you would all raise your hand. So I'm a practitioner as a minister, Reverend Pam, Reverend Rick, Nancy O'Neill, that was our practitioner of the day, Carol Dalvon, Brenda Heldorn, and let's see, is that all of our, I think that's it. So if you have, we know that prayer works, and this is one reason the Centers for Spiritual Living has been a wonderful organization. We have more than 400 centers throughout the world. And so if you have something going on in your life and you would like to talk about it and make that change, or just go from good to great even, meet with a practitioner, and that prayer will help support you in that transition. We have, after our closing song, we'll have an affirmation, and then we'll open up the Zooms, so everybody can unmute themselves and we can have a time of hospitality and join together in our spiritual community. All right.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
So if you would join me in our affirmation. I listen to the voice of Spirit within me. I see with clear vision. I am willing to grow. I take action with commitment. I care for all people and our planet. I am a winner. I have discipline to live a life of greatness. And so it is. So thank you all for coming, and let's all unmute ourselves and we can share.
Thank you, everyone. It was
Thank you,
beautiful.
Joaquin.
Thank you so much.
So great seeing you.
Great seeing all your faces too. All right.
Loving
Have
your
a,
new
lov-
house.
have a lovely day.
Thanks,
Right.
Joaquin.
Thank you all, Joaquin.
Bye.
Bye, Joaquin.
Hello to Shiloh and Emily.
They missed them.
I do need to dash off, so thank
Yeah.
you all.
All of us.
Bye, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Bye-bye.
And Colleen, good to see you.
Yes, always. You too. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah. 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 And you, when is your weekend event, Colleen? Is it?
We actually had it. It was August the 15th. October the 15th through the 18th. Celebration of the elements, and it was lovely and wonderful and exhausting, and we're recovered.
Is there a recording of that available?
There is. I think it's being edited. It was, we had a meeting on Tuesday to kind of gather together what we've learned from the past two Zoom events that were both kind of the same, multi-day and 24/7. And we decided that we would do the presentations separate from the ceremony because they're so, it's just so much. So they're editing the presentations. We had some lovely sessions. We had a native elder from our area who's now living in Kauai who did a water mandala and some teaching. We had a well-known author who did a session on medicinal plants. We had a lot of grandmother wisdom and all kinds of sharings, stories. And we ended with one of our council members leading in what's called a wiping of the tears ceremony. That was just so beautiful, honoring those who have passed. And that was our day of air and spirit. We focused on one element each day, and really so timely. The intensities around us, boy, I try not to allow them to sink in, but when they do, it's nice to have something more better that's sunk in more deeper. So,
Are these was this with lots of different tribes, Colleen?
Yeah, we had several tribes represented, but at the same time, it wasn't just indigenous wisdom that was shared.
Mm-hmm.
We had, Chris did some Tai Chi, again, focusing on the connection with that and that day's element. And we had a beautiful, I think this was on Water Day, song that was from I think a tribe up in Washington, and some teaching there. And then we had a grandmother from Mexico who's now living in Minnesota, who did a special presentation for women. And then we also had a tribal elder from Canada who at the same time did a talking circle for men. So it was kind of like this delicious smorgasbord. And and as you know, when we step out and people are just, I just love experiencing people being in their element, I guess to say, and just being a part of that was really it's kind of hard to describe. But when you're with someone and they're sharing at the height of their vibration, and somehow, something in you is rising up there to pick that up. It just,
Sue Piefel.
yeah. So,
Colleen, I love how we're all one. Sue, I guess she's still on.
Yep.
You just said about the vibration of one, and that's what we're all like today. To all of you, I was just saying, I see you, to each one of you, and connecting my highest vibration with yours. And then you're talking about the same thing, Colleen. And it's just amazing to me how we're all one. And the more I've been really checking into different Native American college organizations, I've always been part of that and drawn to that, but I had no idea what you were putting on. I would have loved to have been a part of that. And so once again, as soon as you put that out in the universe, all this information starts flooding in. And here you are talking about all that. Oh my Lord. What a blessing. I mean, oh gosh. That's Sue,
will you send us the link once it's all put together, the recording?
Sure. And you can kind of get, little tender morsels of just the feel of that right on the nonprofit's website. It's OEF, as in One Earth Family, OEF and then 7th spelled out generation.com. So there's a little description of, it's called Celebration of the Elements that just happened.
Could you repeat that? OEF.
7th generation.com.
Is that a number or a seven?
Spell it out.
Spell it out.
Mm-hmm. OEF 7th generation.com. And providentially, we met some wonderful people actually from all over, even beyond North America. But one couple that we met is up near Canada and Washington State, and they are kind of like you, Penny, just drawn to that same vibration, and they have been for decades. So they have been networking and working with the type of nonprofits that you're talking about for many years. And so we have a meeting happening within the hour to get to know more of those organizational spokespeople. And I looked at some of their organizations online, and I'm just in awe. So it's kind of more of what you're talking about, the ripples. And
I'd like our center. That's something that I'm very drawn to, and I want to participate in that and bring that into our center. My first husband was part Native American, and my son's part Native American. So yeah, it's always been in my life. This is fabulous. This is fabulous. Just a side note, I don't know how they feel, but some of the organizations I've given to for years, and my mother before me, I just now started doing so much research. I found that they were Catholic, and that really upset me. So I wrote to this school I've given to for years, St. Laubrie, and I received the most beautiful letter back from them, email, that because I said, I'm really concerned about this, about donating to a Catholic organization for Native Americans. And I was gonna say, I didn't know how to put it politely about the monks and, oh my God, just all that horrible, forcing them to give up their religion and everything. But they addressed that in the letter. They spoke about the whole horrible happenings, and I'm going to check it out even more, but they said that the children dress in their native, they speak native language, and they have throughout the day their own native religion. So we'll see. But, I understand they need help, and Catholic, organizations have a lot of money. So I can see them going through the Catholic, church, but I'm going to be really careful who I donate to. So that was really interesting, though, that they acknowledged how horrid it was, and that they're not doing that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you got to go.
Bye, Sue.
Well,
Sue.
it's
Oh, this is such a blessing.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the on our event, Colleen, Rick has been working with Josh Holmes, and so we've got some. It was a learning curve that we learned a lot about how to not only put the event on and market it, but also to share the replay. And
Yes.
and so if you would like some, I'm sure Rick and possibly Josh would be very glad to share with you if we can help you
Oh, thank you so much.
with your event.
Yeah, there are some younger people in Bakersfield that are working on that, but I don't know what their time availability is. They're kind of juggling several things at the same time. I'll find out soon.
Okay.
And I would love for CSL to be connected in such a way that, you know, the blessings that have happened, you know, which, you know, have no boundaries, you know, could somehow just kind of do a figure eight.
You know, Colleen, I'm gonna send you the link to the event that Penny went to. That
Okay.
There's a recording, and so the interacting with the Native American community has been very important to our centers. I mean, there's some centers that when they meet, they actually bless the land, they bless the tribe on whose land they are, and you know, that kind of level of awareness that we're trying to build. And I think one of the things that I would, you know, this is why I hope you come to the visioning, because I would love on our website, for instance, to have a page on there that is about things that are happening in the Native American community nearby.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And so we can, you know, because there's only one spirit, and so we can support each other.
Well, and what Reverend Pam's going to send you, there were 3 women, Native American women, that are very active for their people, and it was interesting because they like Center for Spiritual Living because it embraces all religions. So I thought, oh my gosh, maybe, you know, some of the indigenous people in this area would like to come to the center. I don't know. There's so much we can do, and it's so exciting. And it's just bringing the light, you know, there so that change can happen.
And one of the people that from CSL that's leading it is Reverend Victoria Bomberry. She graduated with me, so she and I are friends, and so she's a Native American elder, and she's done lots of things. She's been an activist. She's also taught at, she's brilliant. She's taught at Stanford in what do you call it, in like
Can't remember what
literature kind of thing, you know, relating to the Native Americans and so forth. And she's done work down in, I think it's Bolivia, with tribes down there. She's just an amazing woman. And so we probably could convince her, when COVID's over, we can convince her to come up and do a workshop with our center, perhaps. Because she's done some amazing things. I know when we were in school together.
Wow.
She just lights up the room with her connection with nature.
Oh, love to meet you. Yeah. And you know, there's a local indigenous community leader from the Paiute Shoshone tribe north of Reno, who is starting up a nonprofit, and he and his wife and family are just amazing, open-hearted leaders, and the nonprofit that they're beginning is called Tribal Minds Incorporated, and we're fiscally sponsoring them as they've received a grant from one of Warren Buffett's children is very much into being in support for the indigenous emergings that are happening now. So they received a grant, and it's coming through us to help them get up and running. And boy, what they offer is so beautiful and powerful. I think I invited you guys to some sweat lodges before COVID. That was in their backyard.
How do, Colleen, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but how do they feel about white people doing sweat lodges? I felt that wasn't correct, but.
Well, they, first of all, they do the sweat lodges. We just come.
Okay.
But we have had sweat lodges on the land that where we lived before we moved to Reno. And we had what's called the common man's altar. So we were very respectful of the ways, but there are some indigenous people, and Victoria obviously is one of them, who just know with all their beings that spirit is calling everybody together, and that the ancient wisdoms that have been expressed, they have a place among all peoples now. And so OEF Foundation is in that stream, to not commercialize it, but to somehow just help it be accessible to those who are seeking at that level, to their connection in a more earthy kind of a way.
That's wonderful.
In a lot of the sweat lodges, whatever your spiritual background is, if you have a song or a prayer to bring forth from that background, it's welcome. Unless, there are sweat lodges and ceremonies and some dances that are they will only have indigenous people there. That's something I can be a part of. But there's so much that's available and open and rich. And it's exciting to see all the different ways that that's kind of coming into the picture right now. It's so and those challenges that they've had for centuries, that so much of our culture is just kind of waking up to. The people who are in a open-hearted, forgiving stance, they're so precious, and however we can be in support of them, it's just such a blessing to be able to do that.
I've seen some videos of the young people, and they're rapping, and it's just beautiful. Though they're in full native dress, and I mean, it's so important that the young people, you don't want to lose that culture. There's such wisdom there. It's huge. It's like there's so much. Bye, Nance.
Bye, everyone.
I have to go too.
Right. Okay. Bye. Love you all.
Anyway, Colleen, let's definitely, stay in touch.